Well, hello everybody. I am Louise Eddington, the Cosmic Owl of Cosmic Owl Astrology, and this is my look at the month ahead for the month of June. I'm going to give you a basic overview of the biggest energies astrologically. But if you like what you hear, please subscribe to my channel while you're here. Also, maybe hit the little bell so you get notified when I upload new videos, because I'm going to be doing a video for all signs also. And give the video a like. You know, the more I get of this YouTube algorithm, the more my videos get seen, and all that kind of stuff. Social media. But anyway, what a month we have ahead. Oh my goodness. We have eclipse season starting, ends in July, but most of it's contained within June. We have the Venus star point, which I'll talk about. We start the month with 2 planets out of bounds, but Venus goes back in bounds on June the 1st. And there's some major aspects to look at. So I'm just going to look at the biggest aspects for daily updates, daily videos. I do 5 videos a week for my members. Please consider joining my Cosmic Owl community. You'll find a link in the video description below. For just $5 a month, you get 5 daily videos. I do one on Friday for the weekend with much more detail about the moon. I do some teaching moments, things like that. You also get this every month if you join the $5 level and above. I'm making this one public because it's such an insane month. So consider joining us. What else do you get? Lots of little extras. So if you're watching on YouTube, come join the Cosmic Owl community. It's a lovely place. It's a bit like Patreon, but my own software. So let's share the screen and get onto the astrology, because oh my goodness, what a week we have, a month we have. So we'll get to the 1st of June. Okay. June starts with a bang, really. Well, on the 2nd of June, more. But on June the 2nd, we have Venus is over here. Okay, so we'll go a day ahead. Venus will square Mars a little bit later in the day, 6:40 p.m. Mountain. So about 12 hours after this, I can edit it to show you exactly. But what this means is that when Venus reaches the midpoint of her retrograde, called the Venus star point, on June the 3rd, she will still be in square to Mars. But here we are, Mars square to Venus, with Venus in the heart of the sun. She's there, she's combust the sun. We're no longer able to see her. Venus's evening star disappeared from our sight on May the 28th, today, when I'm recording this, and will emerge again as the morning star after her retrograde. But this is the kind of the deepest part of her retrograde, and here she is in square to Mars. Now, interestingly, she started her retrograde in square to Neptune, and Mars is on the way there. And what this is all doing is really asking us to look at all our relationships, including the relationship towards our anima and animus within, including our relationship to spirit and nature, and including our relationship to other people, but including our relationship to the material world too. We are being changed. These are mutable signs. Everything is really being dissolved and shifted, and perspectives change. It's pretty massive. And whenever Mars is in square to Venus, there's a little bit of tension, or quite a lot, between what could be seen as the divine feminine and the divine masculine, but more in the like drive, and the more receptive kind of Venus energy. But Mars is in Pisces already. Mars is softened in Pisces. Okay, so and then Venus is blinded by the light of the sun. So this polarity is being softened in this, and the key to any aspect is integration. So this is a wonderful way to start the month, I think, really. Then also on June the 2nd, we have it here. So I'm going to go forward hours just so you can see. Pallas Athena moves back into Capricorn. The Capricorn party is building up again. During May, several planets turned retrograde, most of them within a week. Saturn, Jupiter, Venus, and Pallas Athena all turned retrograde in 1 week. Well, now they're heading backwards. Jupiter's heading back to Pluto. Pallas Athena's heading back to Pluto, to be followed by Saturn at some point. So Pallas Athena is the cosmic owl. She is the visionary strategist. She can see into things that are into the rabbit holes and see things not seen before. And her trip back into Capricorn is going to take her way down into the institutions that rule us, where we've given our power away to Big Daddy and authority. We can see this happening already. It's been happening for some time, but it seems to be happening at a greater rate. Okay, so we have that. Vesta moves into Cancer. Now, Vesta, just before we start the month, Vesta crossed the North Node. Mercury crossed the North Node last night, as I record this, on the 27th. Vesta's just crossed the North Node. From February the 25th until May the 27th, all the planets, apart from asteroid Juno and the moon, we don't count because the moon goes around every month, but all the other major planets were confined in this half of the zodiac. And that's a Vedic term for being kind of trapped and condensed. And it seems that our collective consciousness has been trapped in this holding pattern, and things are changing. And Mercury moved out and is moving on towards his retrograde, but now Vesta's also moved beyond the North Node. So things are starting to free up. We're beginning to think differently. We're beginning to think outside the box. Incidentally, as I said, Venus moved back in bounds on June the 1st. So she had been behaving very eccentrically and erratically. Mercury is out of bounds till June the 9th. So he's still a little crazy and a bit super sensitive in Cancer. And he's got a long time in Cancer, August the 4th or 9th, I think it was, because he's got a retrograde in there. But this shift is going to be palpable. We can start to see a way forward. Vesta is the sacred heart of focus and commitment. So we'll be figuring out where we need to focus, but we're not quite there yet. But anyway, but on June the 3rd, at the start of the day, so I'm going to move forward by days, Vesta will move into Cancer and join Mercury. Okay. There we go. Vesta, Mercury now in Cancer. At the same time, or very shortly afterwards, we have the Venus star point occurring, and that will occur, well, I think that's just past it. It's a little earlier in the day, but I want to show you what it's all in aspect to. Venus will be, the star point is, let's have a look at, no, sorry, I'm going to move forward. Crazy energies. Okay, I can't get, oh, there we go. The Venus star point is just before Vesta moves in. So we've still got this strong Gemini energy. The Venus star point is part of Venus's 5-pointed star of star points where the sun meets Venus in her cycle of both retrogrades and direct contacts. There's superior or exterior and interior conjunctions. This is an interior or inferior conjunction. Venus is out of sight. Venus is at the midpoint of her retrograde, and the sun is just dazzling our view of Venus. So in this one, Venus is between the sun and Earth. Okay. And so it's like the sun's rays, which is the center of our solar system, and it represents our core, is just beaming through Venus and kind of burning her out. And since Venus represents values, relationships, our relationship, as I said, to the material world, this is a crucial point, and it sets the scene for the next 8 years. Okay, because Venus will return to a Venus star point retrograde in Gemini in 8 years' time. And the last one was 8 years ago, 2012, and then there was one in 2004. Each time they moved back a little bit, so they hit a different spot. But this is a real red letter day in the middle of her cycle. Venus is the higher incarnation of Earth, really. It's the closest planet to us other than the moon, which is not a planet because it's our satellite. It's then next closest to the sun. So it really is kind of our higher self. We are being called to our higher self, materially, relationship-wise, in every way. So after that big day, we get a major, it's like, wow, we can have an eclipse. So on June, we're on days, June the 5th, we actually have the first eclipse, which is a penumbral lunar eclipse, which means that it's not a total eclipse. The nodes are quite far from the moon, but it's a full moon eclipse. So the moon and the sun are opposite each other. And I'm trying to get it exact and I can't. Close enough. It's at 15 degrees of Sagittarius with the sun at 15 degrees of Gemini, with Venus still combusts the sun, still blinded from our vision. So, and it's also in square to Mars again. So not only did we have Venus squaring Mars, all of this is tied together really in this mutable change. And a full moon eclipse is a real kind of release, whereas the annular eclipse that we're going to come to on the solstice is a real new beginning. But all eclipses eclipse something, even if they're not total eclipses. And yes, you could say this is a pretty mild eclipse because it's so far from the nodes. The closer the nodes are to the moon and the sun, the more total the eclipse is, but it's square to Mars. I don't think any eclipse could be called small. And if you want to hear more about this, Jen Duchenne and I talk about this on our Weirdly Magical podcast. We just released the eclipse episode, and she looks at the numbers, and we generally rap about these energies. But basically, this eclipse is gonna bring change. This is the second eclipse of the year, the first of 3 in this eclipse season. We have 6 eclipses this year, whereas normally we have 4 in what's already a crazy year anyway. So unmutable signs are bringing change. So this is going to be a big release and a big change and a real release of thinking we can control everything. I think, Mars in Pisces is very much about giving up control. Mars likes to take action, to be very direct. It's the pioneer. In Pisces, it's swimmy, and the action is muted and more connected with your connection with the unconscious and nature. So we have all of that. At the same time, or really just after. So we have the first eclipse. So we have, wow, what a month. Then I'm just going to go forward to the 8th. Venus is starting to separate from the Sun. I don't think she's visible yet. I'm not actually sure what day she's visible. I'll have to kind of look into that. But she's not emerging as the morning star yet. She's still under the beams. But she is on June the 8th in square to Ceres. So you can see we've got this ongoing Venus Pisces square that's continuing. It kind of finishes with this for now, but we have a couple of other things coming up in the mutable energies, including Ceres stationing retrograde, but not till July. So, all right. But anyway, Venus square Ceres. Now, I did a Ceres presentation. I did it. In fact, I should download it and upload it to my own YouTube. I did it for EA Zoom meetings. You can find that presentation on their YouTube. So it's EA for Evolutionary Astrology, Zoom, Z or Z OOM meetings. And it was Ceres. And I did point out that on December the 7th, 2024, Venus and Ceres will be conjunct Pluto at 0 Aquarius. I'm kind of thinking that's when the age of Aquarius really kicks in. We'll start to really feel the new age. We keep getting starts and glimmers. We don't have a day where these things start, but we are moving into a new astrological age after being in the age of Pisces for about 2,600 years. So it's definitely shifting. Now, I think this Venus square to Ceres is really important because they're both divine feminine energies. And in Pisces, Ceres is really asking us to, well, we're feeling the grief for what we've done. You know, I talked in my presentation about the end of Planet of the Apes. You know, it's that feeling of what have we done? And the actual speech was, what was it? You finally really did it, you maniacs. You blew it up. God damn you all to hell. So it's that feeling of, oh, you know, we're kind of killing it all. Well, this Venus Ceres square, I think, is actually giving us the opportunity every time these planets are activated, and there's other activations too. I think we've been given the tension to actually create change based on our changing values or our deepening of values. We're really being asked to examine them, you know, let go of this of the attachment to what we thought was and to move forward. So that's an important day in the cycle. So then we move on to June the 11th and Venus again. So Venus here, she will actually be an aspect to Chiron, the wounded healer, who is over there going, you know, heal thyself for your part in it. So here Venus is saying, you know, how can you bring you into healing based on all these new values that you're reflecting on? Okay. Now, I must say that Venus and Chiron and Venus, Chiron, and Uranus are all in a bit of a dance here, okay, around the same degree. And Uranus is bringing innovation and new ideas, and Mercury is now bringing new ideas as well. So all of that too. On June 13th, Mars hits Neptune a bit earlier than that, clearly. Now, and this is in square to where Venus turned retrograde. So they're all tying in together. Mars and Neptune don't really go well together very well because Mars likes action, pioneering, get up and go. It's your will, it's your drive, it's your energy. But with Neptune, it's being said, let go, you know, do what you can. Don't think you can force everything. Don't think that you can make all this stuff happen, okay? It's a lot about trusting and doing what you can. It's also about really relaxing into the natural cycles. I don't always get very down and depressed about what's happening in the world. Of course, I have my moments because I'm human, but I kind of see that we're in a shit show astrologically and that it will pass. And that really helps me. Yes, it's horrible that people suffer and people die, and I'm not trying to diminish that, but I also know that there is a way through, or we are going to move through. So it's kind of about that surrendering to, to what is. On June the 14th, we have another red letter day. Oh my goodness, so many. Pluto and Eris will have their third of 5 exact squares. Now, I think I've got that many things on my I cannot see when the actual. We have 3 more to go. 1 later this year and 2 more at the end of 2021. Now, the first Pluto Eris square was on January the 26th, right after the Saturn-Pluto Ceres Sun Mercury conjunction at 22 Capricorn on January the 12th. And it's definitely associated with the craziness kicking in. It's definitely associated with the planets being trapped either side, and you see at this point another asteroid has crept by. I'm not going to talk loads about that. Venus, the sun, of course, is going to cross the North Node soon, but it's a real shake-up transformation energy. And, I could see that it was probably one of the associations with the virus. I think that Mars and Neptune with the conjunction in June is not good for the virus. I kind of think the Pluto Eris square is not good either. I posted about a sudden little spike in numbers in Utah, and they had gone down for a couple of days. With all this opening up, I kind of really still think we are not going to wait till the fall for a spike, okay, for some hot spots at least to come up. So watch that carefully. Still take care of yourself. Yes, we have to learn to live with this thing because we don't have a cure or a virus, but stay safe and be aware. And especially if you see Jupiter's about to come up and conjunct Pluto again and to square Eris. So that's happening towards the end of the month. So they're all in this dance, and Jupiter's making everything bigger as well. So, and the retrogrades, it kind of is, everything's kind of like revisiting where we were. So, and I think there's a whole lot of trouble going on with our institutions and our building, our government ruling people and things. So that's June the 14th. On June the 18th, to add to all of this, really, I'm separating these aspects out, but we really can't, because there's all this stuff building up around the 24-degree mark, and it's going to cause major disruption, I think, in June. June's going to be a rough month for many people. Well, Mars joins the party on June the 18th, and Mars will be in sextile to Pluto. It will be in semi-sextile to Eris. So Mars and Pluto are the traditional and modern rulers of Scorpio. And when Mars and Pluto get together, there's often power struggles, fights. It's going to be confusing with Mars in Pisces, I think. Eris is there pulling down the picket fences and saying, look at how corrupt this all is. I've never seen more posts than I have, and it's going to get more, I think. We have the protests in Minneapolis. I'm not going to call them riots because there's plenty of evidence the police gassed peaceful protesters first, and either way, that's how kind of revolutions start with protests that could be called riots. So, it's a very judgy word, riots. So, but I kind of think this unrest, let's call it, is going to grow. I've never seen more people posting about, the fact the bailouts in the pandemics have gone to bigger business while people are unemployed and starving and food lines and things like that. This kind of unrest and people figuring out who is really, or what needs to change is going to grow. So we've got that coming. June the 20th, to carry on all this kind of this energy, Mars will aspect Jupiter, and so those two are connected, and that's bringing expansion. And in the meantime, we've got the eclipse coming the following day. Sorry. Oh, what a day. So on June 21st, we have a new moon eclipse. It's at 0 Cancer. I'm just going to get the moon back to there. Incidentally, the USA is a Cancer country. So if my talk is very USA-centric, USA is going through its Pluto return. A lot of this is hitting Pluto. The last of this series of eclipses is actually on July the 4th. This 0 Cancer one is the same eclipse at the same degree. The eclipses go in cycles, okay? And in 2001, the year of 9/11, we had an eclipse at that degree. And of course, all eclipses are slightly different because of the other energies contained within. If you see, we have this Vesta, Juno, Black Moon, Lilith, Chiron kind of energy all going in here. Oh, and I missed Mercury going retrograde, by the way. Sorry about that. Mercury, so much to say. Mercury went retrograde on June the 18th, so I'm not going to go back to that. So Mercury's just gone retrograde. We've got that whole lineup of Pluto, Jupiter, Pallas Athena's back, almost completely back there, by the way, Mars and Eris. I kind of worry about the summer solstice. I kind of worry about unrest. I worry about the pandemic. Venus is approaching her retrograde station, and Venus as well was connected with some of the increase in the virus. As wonderful Erin Sullivan has pointed out, Venus has many words associated with things, with disease like venereal, venal, all that kind of thing. Neptune and the Sun were conjunct on March the 8th when it really started to increase in the Western world. And Mars is still close to Neptune. I really kind of think we're going to be a bit of trouble, really. Sorry. But there are some healing, things. Juno's been there kind of saying, let's bring more egalitarian equality. Let's bring in the UBI. Let's look after the poor. There's various bills going through. Nothing's happened with them, of course. We had one stimulus thing of, $1,200 each in this country. I'm not sure what other countries have done. But most of the money's gone to the wealthy, and people are getting tired of it. But there is this potential to say, let's change this, let's heal this, let's change the system. Okay. June the 22nd, still really in all this energy. Okay. Mars will aspect Pallas Athena. So really all of this is in aspect for from really when Mars hits Neptune, June the 13th, to the Pluto Eris square. You'll be feeling it a bit before that, but that period, the 13th to the 22nd or so of of June is very intense. The intensity is also compounded by the fact that when Mars was conjunct Neptune on the 13th, but Neptune stations retrograde later on the 22nd. So I'm just going to keep going. Oh, 10:32 p.m. Let me edit that. I'm going to go to 11 p.m. Neptune is now retrograde. So all of that's all been connected. The Eris, Neptune, Mars, Pluto, Jupiter, Pallas Athena. Mercury turned retrograde, as I said a while back on June the 18th. So now we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 planetary bodies retrograde for 3 days. That's intense too. So June is just a crazy intense month. All right. And as you can see, as Neptune stations retrograde, the moon is over in Cancer, activating all of this. I really urge you to stay safe in June, personally. Okay, sorry. So moving on, June the 25th. We've had the annular eclipse, June the 21st, 0 Cancer, saying, okay, now that's starting about creating our own personal security. We may see clampdowns on security more, but eclipses on kind of unroll over the next few months. You know, the 9/11 was not till a couple of months or 3 months after the eclipse, 2.5. So, you know, it might not all happen immediately, but the unrest, I think, is going to get really much stronger overall. On June the 25th, though, Venus stations direct at 5 degrees. And at the same time, we have Chiron and Uranus. They're kind of tracking each other in this semi-sextile the whole time, or have been for most of this year. And I see them both as very new ideas, bringing healing. So they are bringing the potential in. And both of those are in aspect to Vesta on June the 25th. So Vesta, we're really being called to focus back into our home, or what makes us personally secure and safe. Very Cancer. She is the flame that keeps the flame burning on the hearth. So, and it was said when the flame went out that Rome would collapse. And it seems like civilizations are collapsing right now. But you know, I think we're going to get new ideas, what we can do. I've talked about them many times, that we have the you know, much more of a move towards permaculture, towards creating victory kind of gardens, things like that. And I think this is going to grow and grow and grow. So there is always good. On June the 26th, we still have some craziness going on, because on June the 26th, June the 25th was when Venus turns direct, and Vesta and Uranus and Chiron were all at 9 degrees. Okay, but on June the 26th, we have another biggie, Eris, Jupiter. Eris squares Jupiter, and Jupiter's just minutes away from being conjunct with Pluto, and that will be conjunct on the 29th. So the end of June is just as disruptive, really, as well. All of this is kind of happening together. It's like disruption, revolution, revealing the corruption. Oh dear, what a month. And those that know me know that I love to be like this sweetness and light astrologer, but in 2020 I don't know if there's much room for any of that. And there's more. on the 27th, Mars moves into the sign he rules. And that's the sign of the warrior and the sign of war. And Mars rules that sign. He's very much in place in that sign. And Mars is going to be in Aries for a real long time, okay, because he goes retrograde in his own sign, Aries, and he doesn't go retrograde in Aries that often. So Mars will be in Aries until January the 6th, 2021. So for for almost a full 6 months because of his retrograde. That's going to be a real interesting whole rest of the 6 months for a start as well. Now, Mars moves around about every 2.5 years, but he normally moves much quicker through Aries. So this is going to be interesting. And so, that's kind of more of a heads up for what's coming ahead. But immediately on June the 28th, as soon as Mars has gone into Aries, the planet of go, 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 action, action, action aspects Saturn, the brakes, about to retrograde back into Capricorn. So he's frustrated. That's kind of, it can be like 1 foot on the throttle, 1 foot on the brake. And it's always that way around. And it's always a little bit, even when it's a sextile aspect like this. But it is in fire and air signs. So a lot of it could be like verbal fighting, but it could be fires too. I have to say, we're entering that season. But it's, inside of us, all this is playing out inside of us too. And we are transforming too about what we want from the world and in our lives. June the 29th, Jupiter hits Pluto. And we're kind of starting to get reflections back to January, February. Jupiter passed Pluto in February. We're going to start getting revisiting things that started up in January, February. So look back to that. And we finish. We finish the month with Pallas Athena squaring Eris. So I always feel a bit hopeful when Pallas Athena is involved. She is a warrior for sure, but she was a very wise warrior, more about strategies to win. And at the same time, on the last day of the month, Mercury is cazimi the sun. And let me go back hours to show that. So that's the center of his retrograde, and that's a moment of clarity. The end of the month could give some real kind of, or some awarenesses of, wow, yes, I see it more clearly now. The clouds are parted. I really start to see what's going on in this rabbit hole and stuff like that. Because the cazimi, Mercury conjunct the sun, when it's in 17 minutes of it, is a moment of clear thinking. And I just want to actually, that's my chart. You don't want to see that. I actually want to put the USA's chart around the outside because all this is really starting to affect the USA's chart as okay. Because that next eclipse coming up will be at that point, but the cazimi is close to the USA sun. All of this is happening, especially the Jupiter, Pluto, Pallas Athena, Eris energy is happening while we're in the Pluto return really now. So it's going to be an interesting month, especially in the USA. For yourself, I think there's a lot of opportunity to really create your own security, to really start to drive to create this energy based on your new values with Venus going direct, to really kind of put down, not roots, not really, to change what you need to change in your own life so that you are kind of protected from mostly what's going on outside. Okay. All right, loves, it's quite the month ahead. Sorry the video's so long. If you're not a member already, please consider becoming a member. And I'm going to do an all signs video later as well for the month. All right. Well, much love.